Welcome to Latina Mic Drop, the podcast where you can show up and show out, where bold moves are not only encouraged, but the standard. This is where excellence meets simplicity and common sense. I'm Miriam Simon, your host, a leadership coach, author, speaker, a mom of three young adults, a grandma in my 40s, and a spouse to the most beautiful, kind soul, on a mission to empower 1 million people to continue to tap into their exponential power. If you're out there building your own family and your own future from scratch, you're in the right place. Join me as we explore the stories, strategies, and secrets that can turn your hustle into legacy and peace of mind. Ready to transform your life? Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Latina Mic Drop. So, for this week, I wanted to just tell you a little bit about wow, what an amazing weekend I had. We were able to go to the Unleash the Power Within with Tony Robbins. We did that at the Prudential Center in Newark. So, that was like a really transformative experience. What's interesting is that I actually did it when I was 23 years old, and I was wondering when that was. I kept thinking, what was the timeline, right? How old was I when I did Tony Robbins UPW for the first time? After day one, I went into the portal and realized that I had gone back in 2003. So I was a 23-year-old back then. Imagine my kids were teeny tiny. They were all toddlers, all three of them. I was 23. I was navigating my the relationship that I had with my kid's father, which wasn't at all anything to be proud of. And I'm just so happy that I was able to take that opportunity back then because an organization that I used to work for part time had the tickets for Tony Robbins. I was able to get the ticket for less than what it normally cost back then. And I can tell you that that's one of the main reasons why I have been so successful throughout my life, why my mindset changed, why I didn't allow setbacks to hold me back. Even though I was a single mother, even though I'm an immigrant, although I was practically raised here in the United States, I came here when I was 6 months old. So I was raised here in the United States. And even though I'm from Mexico, even though I'm a woman, even though I'm Latina, even though all the things that could possibly hold you back, like I never let that hold me back. I never let that be my story. I never let that be my narrative. And at that moment in time, that's what I needed to be able to move forward. And that's what I needed to move on with my life. And it's so funny because I was thinking about it because I went with my wife and I was like, you know what? I really do think, and I don't think, I know that that's one of the main reasons why I had the courage to be able to make the decision to be with her because nobody in my family was out. I was the only one. It's just so incredible to think how things happen and how one thing leads to the other, how one experience leads to the next. And I'm just really grateful and really happy that now, from 2003, 21 years later, I was able to go back and go and experience this transformative experience with my wife. And she had no idea what she was getting herself into. I bought the tickets a few months ago. She didn't know, but I told her, I said, this is something that is just going to be out of this world. It's nothing like you've never experienced before. The energy is out of this world, like out of this world. It was just transformative. Me thinking how I came from nothing, all my setbacks, making the decision and having the courage to be myself, my authentic self, even until today. There's so many things in between that I haven't talked to you all about that I've been able to accomplish that it just makes for such a great way for me to share my story. And I'm just so excited about being able to experience this with my wife and being able to think about all the benefits, and I can't wait to see, like, 2 3 years from now, right? Even just 1 year, like just 1 year to the next, just to see where we are in terms of our relationship, in terms of our careers. And this is like coming at such a turning point in our relationship, because my 3 kids are now in their 20s, so they're much older. They're on their own pretty much, they're adults, they like to do their own thing. And so for me, I really have now the time to dedicate to my wife and dedicate to myself and dedicate to the things that I want to do. And one of the main things I do want to do is be able to help other people. I've been able to do many different things that will help many others. I'm just at the beginning of everything. So I'm really proud of myself for taking the time and creating that boundary between my needs and wants, and making the time to go ahead and go to this seminar, for 4 days, and ask for the day off that I needed, and also to be able to do it with my wife, not be scared, and give her the opportunity to experience it for herself, and trust in that she will get what she needs to get out of it, or she will get what she puts into it, right? We were out for about, I don't know, 12-hour days each day, and drove 20 30 minutes. Some days it was 20, some days it was 15, to the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Can't believe that we both walked on fire. The craziest part was not that. The craziest part was just walking the streets of Newark, New Jersey. Now, if you're from the area, listen, I've done a lot of stuff in Newark because I worked there for many years, but wow, I had not walked down the streets barefoot in as cold of a weather as it was that day. And we were just laughing about it afterwards. But that's definitely one for the books. I want to say that it's been an incredible experience, and I'm just so happy and proud that I was able to experience it with my wife. And I really just can't wait to see all the great things that come after that. For today's podcast episode, I really wanted to talk about, how do you add value? Sometimes we're in entry level positions and we're thinking, how do we add value? What does that even mean? What do I bring to the table? Right? How do I pull up a chair and start talking, or start providing information? How do I do that? How do I add value when I'm like the new person coming into an organization, into a team? How do I do this? First thing I think you should really think about is sharing your expertise. When I wrote Tattoos and Pearls, like, I wrote about, it's not about going through the traditional route. Now, I didn't graduate college right out of high school. I actually went, and then I dropped out because I had my son. He was sick. I needed to make a choice, right? Like many mothers do when you have your kids. For your career, do you continue to work, or do you take care of your kids? And guess what? When your kids are sick, you're not going to make the choice to continue to work. You're going to take care of your kids. And so what happened to me at that time is that's what I did. I took care of my kids. But then I was able to go back to college. And in 2013 until 2018, I was able to obtain my degree. My untraditional route has been a gift, that I've been able to do things in a different way. I'm out of the box thinker. And actually, something that I really recognize that is really a part of my gift, because every time I tap into it, it just keeps on rewarding me and the people around me. And one of the things that I realized that was my expertise was being able to make complex things simple. So at work, I have this complex process that I needed to figure out a way to stop pulling out my hair every year when I had to do it. And it wasn't just me, it was everybody else in the same role who was doing the same thing. And every single year, year after year after year after year, unable to take time off during the holiday season because we needed to sit there and get this work done. And we needed to make sure that every single employee knew where they stood with a part of their benefits. And so what I learned was, oh my goodness, like this is really something that I can try to figure out. And people didn't think I could do it, but it was amazing to be able to use my creativity and to be able to share my expertise. And although when I first joined the HR department, I didn't know every single department in every single area, right? I didn't know everything. And that's fine. But what I did have is I had 15 years of experience externally, years of doing things myself, by myself, for hundreds of people. And so by having that, right, that past experience was able to help me in the current state. And then now looking forward, wow, like definitely opened opportunities, definitely opened the doors for many more things. Think about like what are some of the things that you can invest in, you can deepen your skill, or somehow where you can gain knowledge that's rare but highly valuable in your field. In my field, it was really necessary because we're very process heavy. Many organizations are. You have processes all over the place, right? You need people to submit it in, you need people to enter it into systems, then you need approvals. And throughout all this, through the processes, sometimes there are many different people that touch it. Maybe they need to touch it, maybe they don't need to touch it, maybe they shouldn't touch it anymore. Maybe we need to streamline the process. What I realized was that by me sharing my expertise, that really helped for us to come up with solutions that hadn't been thought about before. And we were able to tap into a system that we already had, and we were being resourceful, because one of the other gifts that I have is being resourceful. I didn't have money, so I had to do with what I had. I always think about, okay, well, what do I have first that I can use that we haven't used yet, or how could I use it differently so that I can get a better result out of what we already have. And that's exactly what I did. And without using any extra additional budget dollars, we were able to create this streamlined process that is benefiting many, 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 many people. And so actually everybody within the organization. But that is one of the main things that you can do to add value, is share your expertise. Even it doesn't even matter where or how or what, right? People had no idea I was a mom. People had no idea I had young kids. Even nowadays, like I find myself sometimes talking to people who are older, maybe 20 years older than me, but they're just going through their kids turning 21 or turning 18. And so I went through that like 3 to 5 years ago. So because I went through that a few years ago, that experience for me, it has been helpful to them, because I can tell them, well, now you're kind of guiding them. It's really not about controlling them anymore or trying to keep them safe. Now they need to make their own decisions. And that does not come easy. That role is a hard transition. As a parent, I went through it during that time, but because I did, and for those who are open to it and who ask for it, right? Because I'm not just going to give advice just because I've been through it. If they're open to it and they want to hear, or they want some tips, then I'm happy to help them. And they are grateful to me because they're like, no, you know what? You're right. Oh yeah, maybe I should. And I do it through my coaching, through asking them questions, and I don't give advice. I let them decide what's right for them. And these are the kinds of things that sometimes, depending on what you're going through or what you've been through, you can share your expertise. Sometimes you worked in a different organization and maybe they did things a little bit differently. I was just cautious about that, because sometimes if you talk too much about another organization, people don't like that either. There's a way that you could finesse it and bring it in when it's the right time, and check to see if it would even apply, because some things may work in other places, but in another organization, it doesn't. But it doesn't hurt to share your expertise, and you never know where it would be valuable. And maybe sometimes they just need somebody new to think about something that wasn't thought about before, or maybe just bring something up that maybe in the past you couldn't do it, but maybe now, given technology, you can. A second way that you can add value is ask for help. Sometimes I get asked to do things and I'm like, okay, how do I get that done? And believe it or not, you, by being able to talk to other people and building relationships with other people, that's an excellent way for you to create allies around the organization. And that's actually how you're creating leverage, which is another way to add value. For me, that was something really hard for me to do, because in my culture, in my upbringing, my grandparents would be like, no andes de pedir. So what that means is, don't go asking, people for things. Like, don't go around asking for X, Y, and Z. Like, no, don't be like that. If you need something, we're gonna work it out. We're gonna figure out how to get it done. But what I've realized is that you can't be a leader going by yourself. Like, you really do need help. You need support. And people really are there to help you, because they have the skills, or they may have the people, they may have either they have the network, or they have the skills, or they have the training, they have the information. Sometimes they have budget dollars. It depends on what you're looking for. But it could be so simple as just, hey, can you show me how to connect, my Excel to this specific app that I need to download something else. It could be that simple. Or it could be, hey, I need training for maybe Power BI to like create a dashboard. Or, hey, I need help connecting with an organization, or connecting with somebody who handles this kind of training. Where can I find it? What you do is you just ask for help. You start saying, hey, I recognize you have this. Is there a way that we can get together and you could work something out? And that is really important. And some people think you have to figure everything out on your own, or DIY everything. And I've learned that that's the hard way of doing things. The smart way of doing it is to find somebody that has already done it and can show you the tricks and tips on how to get it done faster, sooner, quicker, like tomorrow, today. Like, they can show you in a couple of hours, as opposed to you trying to figure out what it is that you need to do, and where is it that you get it done, and how do you even log into this thing, or what is it? Oh, it doesn't work on Edge, it works on Chrome. You'd be surprised how many hiccups you can have if you DIY things. But if you possibly can, and ask for help, even when your managers or unit heads or whoever it might be that's putting you on projects, ask them, who is the person that can help me? Is there somebody that I can talk to that would help me with this? Like, find the resources that you need. Don't be afraid to ask. It's not like you're gonna just, not do your work. What you're trying to do is figure out a way to get it done quicker, and do it in a way where you can navigate with less hiccups. The other part that you can do to add value is recognize the gaps. There are so many ways that sometimes you don't even realize. Sometimes you could be the new person that's coming in, and you realize something that other people didn't realize, or you're hearing the same thing over and over again. Or you can even ask, what is missing in this area? What is missing in this project? What haven't we thought about? Right? What is it that we haven't figured out yet? What are we missing? What's the missing link? And recognizing the gaps, that has catapulted me to, I can't even explain to you how beneficial this has been for me. Just being able to recognize the gaps and being able to find solutions through asking for help and sharing my expertise. This is where the gap is, or we're missing this piece, or this person really should come in and help us out. Or it is just really important to be able to try to figure out what it is that's missing, so that you can either streamline a process, you can improve it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But if there is room for improvement, especially now with all the technology that we have at our fingertips, nowadays people are more open, because technology changes so quickly that if you don't look at it, or you don't take a look at it, you're going to miss out on opportunities, and you're going to be behind because you didn't look at the new technology. Another way that you can add value is simply by showing up. You think that sounds simple, stop stating the obvious, Miriam, but in reality, you'd be surprised how much your presence, especially if you're a leader, especially if you're an executive, especially if you're somebody who can really help an initiative, a group, something, you can really help them. Your authority, your presence, even your energy sometimes. Sometimes we just need that one person with that energy that can either uplift the group, or has the experience that others don't have. Just showing up. I mean, but be present, be in the moment, put the phone away for a hot second, for the few minutes that you're with this group, or with the person, just make sure that you show up for them. Really think about, how is it that I can help them? What is it that I know, or what is it that I can do that will help this group or help this team or help somebody else? There's always a way that you can help somebody. There's always a way to show up for people. There's always a way. People sometimes are shocked. Oh my goodness, I'm so surprised you came. I'm really active in the employee business resource group, and there are various ones that I participate in. And I love to be there because I really love to connect with people so that they can tell me what exactly it is that they're struggling with, or what is it that they're going through. Sometimes there's like fun stuff that I want to know about, or fun things that they're new stuff that's coming up within their department, or within their organization, or their employee business resource group or employee resource group. They are so happy and so excited that I took the time out of my schedule to be able to participate and be able to show up for them, especially now in person. We don't have the time, or we're working hybrid, or we're working remote. And sometimes we just think that just being in the room and not saying anything isn't important, but it is important. It is important for you to demonstrate your support for these teams, because they are working hard. They are doing the hard work. A lot of times they have to carry the weight of being an advocate for what they need and what they want. And that's not easy. So you showing up to be there for them, they may just say something that sparks something in your mind. And you're like, you know what, I can help them. Or you could take it back and talk to other people and then make it happen. Right? Because that's sometimes a lot of the stuff that happens with me. I'm like, oh, wait, this is what they were talking about. And then being there and being a great listener, I'm hearing exactly what it is that they need or what they're looking for. And so then by hearing it straight from them, I can either ask questions, I can, get more information about what it is that they're talking about. If there's misinformation, I can correct it. If they are missing a resource that they don't know about, but I know about, then I share it. When I go into rooms, like, I have a huge network that I bring with me. I'm able to tap into that all the time, especially for people who are newer, or people who are just getting started, or who are maybe individual contributors that may just not know too many people. And when you have that, you're showing up for them. You just have to see the smiles on everybody's face when you do these kinds of things. It's so important to them. And especially when you reach a certain level and you don't show up for them, that's tough, because there's always a way that you can help them. There's always some kind of support that you can show them. And sometimes your presence is exactly what they needed and exactly what they wanted. I really, really recommend that if you're one of those people who can make the time, look at your schedule, ask your admins to help you out and schedule the time that you need to be able to be there for them, especially when they have great events where there's many different people. It just adds value so much to whatever it is that they're doing. It shows support. So just be there and show up for them. And the last thing I want to talk about is building leverage, right? So I mentioned that a little while ago, but this is how you create opportunities. You create resources and influence. And by expanding your network is one of them, right? So you can build meaningful relationships, exchange value regularly. There's so many people that I've been able to help throughout the years that nowadays, if I call them, they pick up the phone right away, or they'll say, hey, how can I help you? And the more you give, the more people are receptive when you need something. So like I mentioned before, I'm a very resourceful person, and it was very hard for me to ask for help. And I did recognize the gaps, but sometimes I didn't say anything, and I was very scared to show up. Sometimes it's scary, but I've learned to do it. And just being able to become an ally with other people. And it's not always about like just exchanging, like, transactional. Don't be transactional with people. People don't appreciate that. It's not authentic. It's not real. But when you show up and you help, people are more receptive to giving you when you need it. And I never do things to get anything in return. My grandma showed me how to be like that. She was like, don't worry, don't worry, hija, we help them out. They're borrowing money for whatever it is that they need. My grandparents would always help our family members who came to the country for the first time and didn't know anybody. And so she would tell me like, hey, you know what, this we may never see that money again. They may not even come back, but that's fine. As long as we help them out, you just do it from the kindness of your heart, not because, you're going to expect something in return. Sometimes you get it back, sometimes you don't. And of course, you want people to honor the deals that they make with you or honor the agreements that you have with them. But the reality is that sometimes you're able to give more than they can give. And when I give, it's from the heart, and I want people to be able to move forward from that. And eventually, maybe in the future, you never know. You just never know. And so this is how you can build leverage authentically. And another way is like using technology, right? You can automate repetitive tasks to free up time for high impact activities. And I mean, at this day and age, who doesn't want to automate repetitive stuff that needs to be done? I mean, for me, sitting there calculating, let's automate it. How can we get notifications? How can I get workflow notifications done automatically? How can I get the system to provide the information to the employees automatically? And how can we send it to them automatically? How can we have these calculations automatically done instead of people doing them? People will still be there to answer questions. People will still be there to confirm that the information is correct. People will still be there to be able to check, is it right, is it wrong, was something missed, was there a glitch, did it go to the right person, is the employee's ID number correct? There's so many things you can check. But now your capacity is augmented, because now you don't need to stay sitting here with your head down trying to make calculations on your own, or trying to enter in, a million and one things. You can actually work on other stuff that's more important. And that's what I love the most, is the fact that I've been able to not spend my time on those repetitive tasks that become monotonous, that become, they're boring, they make your jobs a little bit less active. And it's like you're just like da 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 da, tugging away. I remember when I used to do entries to make payments, I used to know exactly how many tabs there were, right? It was like tab, tab, enter, tab, tab, da, 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 da. And then you kind of recognize the pattern that you're doing, and you do it so much that you become so good at it. I mean, I've seen those people that are just like, boom, 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 right? And sometimes that becomes fun, but at the same time, just doing it over and over again, sometimes that can become boring to some people. And by using technology to automate, that's something that really people should start thinking about. And I know people get scared that you're going to like not have a job because of that, but as long as you know how to use the technology, you'll be fine. As long as you know how to input the information, it's like a calculator. If you don't use the right formula or the right numbers, you're going to get the wrong answer. So just make sure you're using the right formula for the right thing, and the right numbers, right, then you're going to do fine. If you put an X for Y or vice versa when it's supposed to be the opposite, then you're going to get the opposite. You're not going to get the right answer. And the last thing I want to say that can build leverage is share your story, your insights, and results authentically. For women, it's a little harder sometimes, because I see it all the time when people think I talk about the stuff that I've been able to accomplish, and people sometimes take it like I'm bragging, or people feel less than because I'm explaining it. I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish. The more we do it, the more people will get used to us doing so, right? Kind of reserved, or that's the expectation, to be reserved or to be subservient, right? I've let that go a long time ago. And when I have something that I'm proud of, I do talk about it, and I am able to demonstrate that. Share your story. Sometimes people want to know where you came from. A lot of times people have no idea. I was in customer service for 15 years before, I started working in HR and then became the executive manager. So, and even now, an executive coach, a leadership coach. Now I'm an author. So, when you start telling your story and you start sharing your insights and all the different things that you're working on, people are impressed and happy for you. And it's just really interesting because, like, over the weekend, too, like, another thing that happened is I mentioned being an author, and I mentioned my story, and he had a tear in his eye, and we had an emotional moment because he had always been told that he has a book, that, that he has a story to tell. And he was so touched by what I explained. I was just telling him, I've been able to do X, Y, and Z. I didn't hold back. I just kept moving and I kept on trying, and I had momentum, and I've been able to move forward, and I was courageous. And he really just started thinking, oh my goodness, like he's like, you're speaking my language, you're speaking my language. And I mean, I didn't know him. I had no idea that my story would even resonate with him at all. We were just, introducing ourselves. We happened to sit next to each other. You might be the answer that people are waiting for. You might be the person that people are looking for. You might be that angel. People are waiting for you to show up. And this is why everybody has their unique experiences. And even though I didn't go to an Ivy League school, I didn't graduate in my young 20s, I was never an intern. I didn't have a college degree until I became an adult, right? I did online college, which people were thinking, like, oh my goodness, online, they think differently of it, but I still have it. I still got it. And actually, because I did it more recently, I think the information is actually more relevant than the people that graduated 20, 30 years before me. And it doesn't take away from their experiences either, because they have a lot of work experience too that I don't have. So everybody has unique experiences. Everybody has a unique perspective that they bring to whatever place they go to. And so don't be afraid to show up. Don't be afraid to share. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There are some people who like shut the door, didn't want to talk to me, and they were like, you know what, keep my name out of your mouth. Okay, no problem. I didn't realize you didn't want to be helped. Okay, so then I won't. That's fine, right? Or some people were just like, well, I'm not going to help you. Okay, next. I just moved on to the next person that was able to help me. And these kind of things do happen, right? You recognize the gaps. I've been creative my whole life. In my previous work, I used to create everything from scratch because we didn't have Office, we didn't have Excel, we didn't have Word, we didn't have all the things that we have now. And forget about AI and all that. That's all new. You could like brainstorm with AI, please. We used to have to do everything ourselves. And I remember that I was like, oh, I can make this form better, or I can make this spreadsheet better, or I can do this, or I can do that. And at the very beginning, it was like, no, you can't change anything. No, you can't change anything. So sometimes that does happen where things are the way they are and you can't, but then eventually you get to a place where you can. And now at this point, every other day I'm creating something new, which is something that I love to do. And it really is helpful, and it really is resonating with people. And I love it. I love it. Every time that I add value to whatever it is that I'm working on, you'd be surprised at what you can contribute. And people are just out there waiting for you. So don't hold back, participate. If something calls your attention, go ahead and sign up for a seminar, sign up for a conference, ask to go to a conference, create a business case as to why it's important for you to go, talk to other people and try to figure out what's the best way for you to ask, maybe, right? Sometimes you need help building the business case. Sometimes you do need that. And so look for those people. A lot of us didn't write our essays to get into college by ourselves. A lot of our teachers were there to help us, to say, hey, write it yourself. It comes out of you, right? But then they tell you, oh, maybe you can do this or maybe you can do that. And building leverage is one of the main things. Like once you're there, it's hard to lose it, very hard to lose it. But just make sure that you're building these opportunities. There's so many opportunities I've created, not just for me, but for others as well. And being resourceful has just been an immense way for things to get done. And throughout all of this, the more you do it, the more influence you have. And the more people will look for you. You become a go to. And it gets to a point sometimes too where you need to say, okay, wait, this I can participate and this I can't participate. But now there's so many different ways that you can actually not be there and help others, so you can develop others to do the same. And then maybe you don't need to do it yourself. You can make a referral and say, hey, I can't, but I have somebody else who can. So this is how you add value. And if you have any questions or comments, let me know. Reach out to me. So take care and have a great week. Thanks for tuning in to Latina Mic Drop. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're building something extraordinary together. If today's episode inspired you, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. For one-on-one coaching and more resources, follow me on your favorite social media platforms at author Miriam Simon, or visit my website at Miriam Simon Online. Until next time, keep turning your tattoos into pearls of wisdom and your dreams into reality. Stay strong, stay focused, and let's make history.